But what we can do is go over Trump's executive order. Because, listen, I have been deeply critical of Donald Trump's declaration that he is going to declare Antifa as a terrorist organization. The reason that I have been deeply critical is it all depends on the implementation. And I have a lot of friends in government, and I have a lot of people that used to work in government, and I have a lot of people that I confer with behind the scenes who have told me, Karlyn, this is not going to work for reason X, Y, B, and Z. And this is why we can't do this, because this is not how government works. And no one in the Trump administration understands how government works. And so they're saying we can do these things that they can't do. And so let's just read the text of the executive order. Thank you. I will check out your meme in Discord, Adrian. Thank you for that. Let's just check out the text of the executive order and actually see what it says. And I'm going to get my handy dandy little text reader here so I don't have to read it. And hopefully it will work today. Let's see what Trump's executive order designating Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization actually says.
Antifa is a militarist, anarchist enterprise that explicitly calls for the overthrow of the United States government, law enforcement authorities, and our system of law.
You know what? Hey, I've got to give it to Trump right off the bat. Is it possible? Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Is it possible that this line is in the executive order because I said it on Fox News? Is that possible? Do you guys remember when Jesse Waters asked me what is the goal of Antifa? And I explicitly said the goal of Antifa is to overthrow the federal government. And now in the very first line of the Trump executive order, they're saying Antifa calls for the overthrow of the federal government. Is it fucking possible that I did that? Holy shit! Holy shit! Wow. Okay, I'll take it, Trump. Okay.
Antifa is a militarist, anarchist enterprise that explicitly calls for the overthrow of the United States government, law enforcement authorities, and our system of law. It uses illegal means to organize and execute a campaign of violence and terrorism nationwide to accomplish these goals. This campaign involves coordinated efforts to obstruct enforcement of federal laws through armed standoffs with law enforcement, organized riots, violent assaults on immigration and customs enforcement and other law enforcement officers, and routine doxing of and other threats against political figures and activists.
I'm loving this so far.
Antifa recruits, trains, and radicalizes young Americans to engage in this violence and suppression of political activity, then employs elaborate means and mechanisms to shield the identities of its operatives, conceal its funding sources and operations in an effort to frustrate law enforcement, and recruit additional members.
Yes.
Individuals
true.
associated with and acting on behalf of Antifa further coordinate with other organizations and entities for the purpose of spreading, fomenting, and advancing political violence and suppressing lawful political speech. This organized effort designed to achieve policy objectives by coercion and intimidation is domestic terrorism.
Hey, listen, I think we're off to a strong start with the first section. Everything they said in the first section is right. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised and shocked to see that everything in the first section of this is correct. That makes me much more hopeful than I was 48 hours ago. Yeah, you know what? Let's take small steps, okay? Let's take small steps, Leah. Let's take small steps.
This organized effort designed to achieve policy objectives by coercion and intimidation is domestic terrorism. Sector 2. Designation as a domestic terrorist organization. Because of the aforementioned pattern of political violence designed to suppress lawful political activity and obstruct the rule of law, I hereby designate Antifa as a domestic terrorist organization.
Okay.
All relevant executive departments and agencies shall utilize all applicable authorities to investigate, disrupt, and dismantle any and all illegal operations, especially those involving terrorist actions, conducted by Antifa or any person claiming to act on behalf of Antifa, or for which Antifa or any person claiming to act on behalf of Antifa provided material support, including necessary investigatory and prosecutorial actions against those who fund such operations.
Okay, we're starting to run into a problem here. This executive order is almost done. What is the problem that we're running into? Does anyone want to take a guess? We'll read the general provisions part last. What is the problem that this executive order is going to have? Pop quiz for the chat. What do you guys think? Because there is a very obvious problem to me in this executive order. First section, great, beautiful. Everything in it was correct. Second section leaves a little bit to be desired. What is the problem with this section? Not most Antifa don't call themselves effing Antifa. Antifa is not identifying as Antifa. They aren't even talking about mutual aid. That's another thing. Antifa is not a single organization. That's another thing. Antifa is funded by mutual aid. How are they identifying who's an Antifa? Yeah, it's the labeling. How are they there's no group names, and also it's not even enough that there's no group names. There's no description of how they're going to identify who is an Antifa and who's not going to be an Antifa. This is going to get struck down in the courts. I'm telling you right now. This, as it is written, is going to get struck down in the courts because they have no way of identifying who is and is not in Antifa. And most people that are in Antifa are not involved with any specific group that calls themselves Antifa. And this was my concern from the very beginning. This is why I said this is not going to work. It's about what are the names of the groups? How are you identifying these people? Because most Antifa groups aren't even called Antifa. They need to consult with me. Hey, I'm here. Trump, I'm ready. Trump, you guys give me a call. Have Harmeet Dillon give me a call. She'll really love that. I would talk to these guys and I would tell them all this, but I'm still thinking they don't want to listen. If only I was a consultant. Yeah, wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. Antifa is too disorganized to infiltrate their organization. The Onion understands. Yeah, well, I wouldn't say Antifa. Antifa is incredibly organized, guys. Antifa is incredibly organized. They are incredibly strategic. And part of their strategy is not being called Antifa. Not being called Antifa. Mark Bray literally says this in his book. Mark Bray literally says this in the Antifa handbook. Part of the strategy is not being called Antifa. So how are we going to identify them? Let's listen to the rest.
Or for which Antifa or any person claiming to act on behalf of Antifa provided material support, including necessary investigatory and prosecutorial actions against those who fund such operations. Sector 3. General Provisions. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law. This order is not intended to, and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person.
This isn't going to work.
This order shall be published in the Federal Register.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Trump. I'm sorry. No. This executive order isn't going to do shit. And listen, man, I continue to make sure people know this. I'm not just poo-pooing this just to poo-poo it. I love the first section of this executive order. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. But this executive order is not going to work because it doesn't have any provisions in it by which you can actually identify the group that the people that are in Antifa. Has no fucking provisions. Let me ask my former Black Bloc member, do you think this executive order is going to work? Because and if you disagree with me, that's fine. But it's we've got to be realistic. Definitions matter. If you can't identify the people in Antifa, then you can't arrest them for being in Antifa. If you can't identify the groups that are Antifa, then you can't declare those groups a domestic terrorist organization. No. Former Black Bloc member says this is absolutely not going to work, and it's probably for exactly the reason I gave, which is there is no definition around what does it mean to be an Antifa. Again, and I'm not coming without solutions here. My solution, and other people can disagree with this, if you show up to a protest in Black Bloc with a black umbrella or any other weapon, you are an Antifa. If you are showing up to a protest to cause violence, to cause destruction, to provoke the cops, you are an Antifa. They've got to put some definition around this. And if they can't do it based on the names of the organization, they have to do it based on the behavior of the individuals. They did such a beautiful job in the first section outlining what Antifa's trying to do. This first section is beautiful. Why couldn't they have just had some sort of definition of the term? What does it mean? What are the behaviors that these people exhibit? Give me something, because what Trump cannot do, guys, and I promise you, this will, the ACLU is going to be suing on this on every single level. The ACLU is going to have Trump's ass over this because Trump hasn't given any definition to what the group actually is. And if you cannot give definition to what the group actually is, then this is not an enforceable executive order. It's going to get struck down. I promise you. So, good start. You know, we'll give credit where credit is due. I don't want to poo-poo everything. I want people to know, like, I'm actually trying to, like, be productive in this conversation. It's a good start. First section, beautiful. Second section, needed more definition. And Trump's got to figure this out, and his advisors have to figure it out. And if they want to talk to me, they can come and talk to me, and I will help them put definition around this, because I've been studying these people literally for years. But I don't know the legal loopholes of this, and I don't actually think Trump does either, which is why in this current version of the executive order, the ACLU is going to hand Trump's ass to him in court. The ACLU already has an entire team of people working on this, guys. I know this. They are prepared for this fight. And so Trump has got to get his act together. His advisors have got to get their act together, because this is not going to solve the problem. I'm sorry. It's just not.